We have officially reached the 2-week countdown to the 2025 NFL Draft. 2 weeks from tonight on the 24th of April, you and I will put forth our MegaCast, which is our annual wall-to-wall coverage celebrating opening night of the draft. That's what we're working towards. Welcome inside the vault on this Thursday. It's the 10th of April. I'm Bobby Trossett, as always, joined alongside Sarah Ellison. You know I'm juiced for the draft, of course. It still feels like it's far away, but it's day one of the Masters.
Oh, boy.
You already know I'm fired up for a weekend full of golf. It's a sacred tournament, Sarah. It's a sacred weekend down there at Augusta National in Georgia. It's a bucket list item of mine that I haven't crossed off yet. Maybe one day. So happy Masters Day to all of you who celebrate.
It's so funny because for our pre-show phone call, I call Bobby. There's no hello, how are you? He's like, happy Masters Day to you. And I was like, you do know that I couldn't care less about the Masters, right? Like you're
Right.
like in your glory right now. It's like when you were here trying to get my sons into golf, which I'm not against, by the way, but I'm happy for you, partner. I'm very happy for you.
The best part is you stick to your guns. Every morning you wake up, you look out your window at a 7th hole of a beautiful golf course and you stick to your guns. It's not of interest to you. Maybe your boys will pick it up. I know your husband plays a little bit, and we had an awesome time at Top Golf for sure. And now I've been slowly sending you links to send to your
I
son.
have sent them.
Yeah, perfect on golf tips, and not that I'm a freaking expert out here at all. But it's such a great game, and for those of us who love golf, this is the weekend of the year. So
you definitely downplay how good you are, and maybe it's just because I'm an idiot and have no clue what good golf is. But I can just say when we went to Top Golf and you were like shooting them way out there, and I'm like using the drivers. Okay, I'm using drivers. You're like, okay, I think I'll take a number 8 iron. Is that a high one, or I don't know which one goes further? But you're like, let me just do this iron, and then you like blast it 3 times further than what I did with the driver. I do think that you underplay how good you are at golf.
Maybe so, but the best part about it all was Ella, your youngest, just so encouraged, so like determined to get good at golf, or at least to make contact with the golf ball. I love that from her. So we had a great time there in Columbus, of course, as you guys continue to hear snippets from and memories from our inaugural Vault Summit. But here's what we have coming up over the course of the next hour. LeBron James gave the ultimate compliment, as he has in the past. This was really repeating a past compliment that he is on record for saying time and time again when it comes to Derrick Henry. And then maybe
he's with the Titans. Okay, this is a new day with the Ravens.
I was going to say we'll have content from his days in Tennessee, LeBron analyzing him then, and we'll have content as recently as last night in Dallas, because that's where we know Derrick spends his offseason in Dallas. And the Lakers, for those of you who I'm sure this was a big spectacle last night, Luca's return to Dallas after being traded to the Lakers. Anyway, we'll get into all that and more off the top. Then some AFC North storylines. Deshaun Watson with some questionable confidence. TJ Watt on his way out of the division. We'll take a look at what those storylines mean. We will evaluate Eric DeCosta's drafting resume since he took over for Ozzie, courtesy of Jeff Zarebek's latest on The Athletic. And our featured guest continues because it is draft season. James Ogden from UK Ravens stops by. Jason Smith from Huddle It Up Films was yesterday. We hope to get some more guests in and out of here over the course of the next couple of weeks, and of course on MegaCast night. But that's what we have. You ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll. I haven't heard these LeBron comments yet. He's I think he's the baby goat. I'm old school. I love me some Michael Jordan, but I don't want to take away from LeBron's light either. But I'd say he's the GOAT among the players right now, and I want to hear what he said about the king.
All right. So we'll set the scene here. Again, Derrick spends his offseason, as we know, in Dallas, still has a house there, and does a lot of his training regimens through the Sanders fitness program down there. He obviously, along with Patrick Mahomes and others, anybody who's somebody, was in the arena last night for Luca's return for the first time as a Laker to Dallas after one of the most inexplicable, ridiculous trades in the history of the association. That's one story of it. The other is LeBron's post-game interview, where he said this about some of the NFL players that I just mentioned who were in attendance that he had a chance to catch up with post-game.
Mahomes, Derrick Henry. I know you're a big NFL guy. You get a chance to kind of say hello and think about the football.
Absolutely, both of them. Obviously Pat Mahomes is, the best player in football, what football has today. Arguably one of the greatest ever played, even right now, where he's still young. And I've said over and over that King Henry is my favorite player in the National Football League. So it's great to have those guys in attendance and for us to be able to put on a performance in front of them like that.
All right, go get some rest. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Hard to believe he's still doing it at the high level that he is, Sarah, and they are absolutely a contender right now in the Western Conference. But as he said in the past, the King is the King's favorite. Both of these guys are respective kings in their careers.
Can we have that many kings? I guess we can, since they're in two different sports. But here, check this out. I just Googled this. There he is. There he is. What does that say on that hat? Art that kills?
Look at him.
Look at that chain. What is on that?
How about that man showing up courtside with a cut sleeve on?
Yeah.
You don't think this dude is in cutting season? He's in bulk season right now. It's the off season. Look at him. He's looking, not that he never not looks absolutely yoked, but look at him. He's looking drippy and yoked.
Yeah. Okay, so they talked about, Patrick Mahomes
So
is
I'm
there.
proud of Dallas,
Mahomes,
including some NFL
and then
royalty,
you got
sitting courtside to watch
And
Luca
Terry, you're
Doncic's return.
out some audio there from
is it spitting out audio?
Yeah, it's all good.
It's quiet for me. Hold on, let me mute it. Boom. Now do you hear it?
Oh yeah.
You still hear it?
No, excuse me. No, you're all set. And look at the royalty that was in the house.
Dirk.
Oh yeah.
And they all had to be there for that game because it's, like you said, it's Luca going back. So no, but let's focus on the King calling the other King his favorite player. Now we had to back up, right? We had to back up to find out why it's his favorite player. Do you got a clip on that?
I do, and I think there's just there's an affinity between the two of these guys, that they have such an appreciation for each other's craft. And so if you go back to Derrick's Tennessee days, LeBron was on the shop and he had this to say about Derrick as a Titan, which still stands true as a Raven based on the comments that you just heard off the top from last night. But we'll rewind to his days in Tennessee on a primetime game in the snow where he was playing the Green Bay Packers.
He's my favorite player in the NFL, man. And I mean, listen, look.
Bro, what is it about King Henry that makes him your favorite player?
What makes him my favorite player? I mean, like for years, they always used to say that, running backs that size or that tall couldn't survive. And obviously Eric Dickerson kind of changed that too, because he used to run Eric Dickerson used to run straight up, you know what I'm saying? But he changed that, but then King Henry changed it in a whole nother fashion, because not only is he tall as Eric Dickerson, he built like a linebacker.
Yes.
So he run in between the tackles, he can run outside the tackles, and when he get on the edge, it's either going to be a stiff arm or he going to run around you.
So LeBron likes him the same reason that we all do. Number one, he defies odds, right? Saying you don't fit the mold as this big guy that's built like a linebacker. And so it's inspiring. I love how it's inspiring to other great players. And what's funny, Bobby, is like, not only did he defy it with the speed and size combination, but he's defying it again with his age. He just had, when we talk about raw rushing yards, his second best season, I believe, but best season in terms of yards per carry, obviously being next to Lamar Jackson helps doing that. But now they both can be inspired by each other with that, because both of these guys are nearing the end of their careers.
Certainly. Yeah, they're certainly on the back nine. Gosh, LeBron could be any year now. And he has slowed down in recent weeks, but he was impactful last night. By the way, Luca put up 45 last night. So Derrick and Mahomes and everybody who was somebody, anybody that was in that building last night got to see a show. It was a spectacle. And it started in the pregame when they did a video tribute for Luca. And Sarah, he was visibly emotional. I'm sure you've seen some tweets.
The Mavs did a video tribute for him?
They did.
I like
that. And of
that.
course, this was less than 2 months ago, and you knew the tribute was going to come, but you didn't know how Luca would respond to it. He was visibly emotional, very vulnerable. And what does he do? He's able to channel that killer instinct seconds later when tip hits. And all of a sudden, you go into this mode where you're highly emotional and everything is revolving around this tribute video. And I'm sure his mind is racing. But to channel that emotion into that killer instinct, Mamba mentality, and drop 45 on your former team in a win, no less, it was something else. So now to get back to, so the moral of the story is Derrick and Patrick and everybody that was there got to see an incredible game. I caught the first half before it just gets too late, West Coast ball.
Yeah,
but
seriously.
I guess technically it was in Dallas, so it wasn't West Coast. I guess that's Central Time, but it was too late regardless. But this affinity, this mutual affinity for each other, their respective careers, dates back, and you heard it when he was a Tennessee Titan. LeBron had a lot to say about the King. The King has had a whole lot to say, meaning King Henry, about King James. Listen to this, a feature story from the past. I think it was actually before Monday Night Football this past season. Kimberly Martin put it together in a sit down with Derrick Henry.
6 figures for a team that helps with everything from massage to nutrition.
No gluten, no artificial sugars, no fried foods, no dairy, and I try to drink as much water as I can.
But it's not just the diet. Talk me through the other things that you do for body maintenance.
I do IVs, cupping, massages, dry needling, acupuncture, anything possible I can do to help my body feel 100%. I mean, you can never get too much recovery. Cold tub, hot tub, soaking Epsom salt, I try to do it all. Yeah, I should do the hyperbaric too.
Please explain for people who don't know, what is that?
It's a pressurized machine that breathes oxygen into your body, into your muscles, speeds up that recovery process.
So why do I bring this up? Because LeBron takes care of his body better than anybody. And there's really no price tag that isn't in the loop, isn't in play for him to do so. And obviously he's not hurting for money. He achieved billionaire status within the last year or two, if memory serves. But how this is tied into it, because Derrick sees this and he's been inspired by LeBron's journey when it comes to the upkeep, the maintenance that's required to keep going at this point in his career on the other side of 40 now.
This is where my money should go.
I saw that story on LeBron. He spends like $1 million a year on his body. And LeBron is the GOAT. If he's making that sacrifice, if you want to be great and the price to be great, sometimes you got to be willing to do things like that.
So the funny part is, Sarah, you heard him say there, I saw that story that LeBron spends $1 million a year on his body. Well, I just so happened to listen to all 50 minutes or whatever it was last month when McAfee had LeBron on his show.
Mm-hmm. Is that when he went after Stephen A. little bit?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And having listened to that entire interview, LeBron refuted that report. He's like, where did that come from? I don't spend $1 million a year on my body. And I'm thinking to myself, you sure about that? You're still going strong at this point on the other side of 40. But anyway, long story short is Derrick clearly has allowed himself to the war of attrition. He's winning that game, that battle, as he gets ready for yet another year in the National Football League at the running back position, no less.
Well, it's interesting because it's like with LeBron or Derrick Henry, these guys, clearly none of these things matter if you don't have a foundational gift of athleticism and strength and all of that, which they just have. They've just been born with athletic genes, right? But once you hit their level, these guys can coast in high school and even college, and maybe even in the beginning of their careers. But at a certain point, when you're going up against the other best athletes in the world, these things make the difference, right? So I think about my husband uses this analogy all the time when we're like trying to motivate our kids and this and that, and how, the small things and the details count, and how, swimmers will shave their legs to try to get a tenth of a second faster, just so there's no resistance from the hair, or they'll wear the caps, or if you're bike riding, they do the same thing. It's like all of these little things for Derrick Henry. We may not see the difference, but in order to have the edge over the up and coming guys that are younger, that are coming in the league, that's the type of edge you got to have. And that's the way you got to take care of your body if you want to elongate your career. And so my guess is somebody like Luca, who people have said that, he may not take such good care of his body. He watches LeBron. That's a good example. You look at Derrick Henry inside the Ravens locker room. Some of these guys are just freak athletes and they don't think that they have to. And then they start to like, oh, this is King Henry, who's like the biggest dude out here running over defenders, and he's doing it. And so hopefully it's something that catches fire in the rest of the locker room.
The number for Derrick, for those of you wondering, because that was shared in that interview that we just showed some clips of, it's $250,000 for Derrick. I think we covered that at some point within the last year, but that is the investment into his body on an annual basis that he shared publicly, $250,000. And whatever it is, Sarah, it's working. It is working. The guy is what an exemplary example of what it means to keep up with time. Trying not, right? Become ageless. He's timeless. That's what he's showing you year in and year out.
Bobby, speaking of workouts, 2 Ravens players who we're hoping is going to take a leap this year have posted some workouts of their own. In fact, this one from Nate Wiggins, I think, was posted by his training group there. But here he is doing his thing in the off season with the backpedaling and moving the hips and grabbing those balls out of the air. So he's out there, he's working. It's April. For those that are audio only, this clip with him on the field doing those drills, caption details of a DB. So year 2 coming up, Bobby. Big year for Wiggins, who had an excellent rookie season.
Nate has a YouTube channel, and this is the same field. It looks to be the same field that he was working on last offseason after he was drafted, and he'll put up like blogs and things of that nature. He's got a video team that he works with, and so you could just tell Nate's hyper focused. He's coming off a tremendous first season. We've talked about that time and time again. But his agility, his lateral quickness, the way that he gets in and out, I mean,
closing speed.
He just kind of floats.
Yeah.
Look at the way that he cuts. Look at the way that he runs. Everything is so smooth. Everything's intertwined. I just, the sky's the limit for this kid. And I think that's why you hear the Kyle Hamiltons of the world speak of him so glowingly. Everything he does on the football field looks effortless. Tanya,
it really
shifty's a good word, Tanya, for sure. But you can tell he's hungry. He's a humble guy, right? Not a big media guy. Don't hear a lot from him. I'm sure he does talking on the field.
Yeah, he doesn't talk too much.
Yeah, I'm sure he was doing some talking on that pick 6 to finish off the year last season. But man, he's the type of guy that when you're looking for that next sort of shoe-in mainstay that's going to try and spend a bulk of his career like a Marlon Humphrey in Baltimore, this guy, along with Kyle Hamilton, just come to mind. The longer they're in the secondary together, the more growth you're going to see, the more stability you're going to see on the back end. Can't wait to see who's starting along opposite him. Is it going to be Cheeto? We'll see.
Well, it's interesting. This is the stuff that coaches were saying he does need to work on, because they were saying that he relies so much on that closing speed that they were like, if he continues to work on that technique close to the line of scrimmage and do all the small details. And again, I think it goes back to this caption of details of a DB, that's just going to take him to another level. And so, yeah, it's like you've got great closing speed, which may make you relax a little bit in the beginning because you rely on that. But what if you don't just rely on that? What if you're able to take it to another level from the beginning? of each rep. Let me see if I can get this in here. So as Ravens Nation Live pointed out yesterday, Wiggins was one of just 3 defensive backs last season to be targeted 50 plus times and allow 0 touchdowns. Targeted 50 times, no touchdowns, no fly zone locked down. So Bobby, that begs the question. What are the expectations for Nate Wiggins in year 2?
Pro Bowl.
Right?
I think a Pro Bowl honor should be his ceiling for year 2, excuse me. And I think that's a realistic ceiling to have. And then from there, you build off of that. You're going to get a lot of reps out of him, right? They kind of eased him in last year. At the same time, a month or 2 into the season, they continued to add to his plate. And he had some rookie moments, but I think those are going to get cleaned up. I think he's going to come back stronger. It's going to be his first legitimate, true offseason. Mm-hmm. That program starts up on the 21st of this month. He's clearly been doing his own, as most players do, right? They have their own regiments, their own system. And so I think it's pretty realistic to think that a lofty goal of his in year 2 would build himself into a Pro Bowl corner, and then from there, keep it coming.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Meanwhile, this is a shorter. Let me take that out. This is a shorter workout clip. But Isaiah Likely coming into his contract year. Have you ever been on one of those? What is that called?
I don't know what that's called, but think about the balance that's required.
Seriously.
I would imagine that's probably like a 30 to 40 pound medicine ball that he's being thrown. And he's in lunge mode. And for audio only audience, Isaiah's left foot is in lunge mode. It's balancing on something that clearly has like a spring underneath it.
Right.
Does anybody know what that is? Mars says
balance
it's a balance board.
They're saying?
Okay. So if it's a balance board, right leg is back, left is balancing on top of it. He's in a lunge, and yet he's being tossed probably, who knows? It could be more than that. It could be a 50+ pound medicine ball. Right. And then tossing it back. I mean, that's core, that's balance, that's concentration. Oh, he's actually also not looking. Did you notice that? He's not looking at the medicine ball when it's thrown.
Last second, right? It's last second he moves over.
So there's the what? That's got to be some hand-eye work in there. This is an interesting drill. I've never seen this.
What's crazy, Bobby, is I just did High Fitness again this morning, which has a ton of lunges, right? And I'm like trying to keep my balance just with regular lunges. Then this guy is over here doing it on a balance board while catching a medicine ball and throwing it back. Meanwhile, this second part of the clip, am I the only one? Let me see right here when he's basically bouncing around on 2 feet, which, by the way, him jumping on leaping with 2 feet is like how fast I am normal running. But all I hear is like Super Mario Brothers. Ding, ding, ding. You know, just like dun 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 dun.
Yeah. How about the afro too? Isaiah Afro. He's looking my man's looking like he's been enjoying his off season.
Yeah. Okay, so we just talked about expectations for ding ding ding. We just talked about expectations for Nate Wiggins. We know the last time we kind of heard from Isaiah Likely on social media is he quote retweeted when Trey McBride, the Pro Bowl tight end out of Arizona, becoming the newest, highest paid tight end in NFL history with a 4-year, $76 million extension. He quote retweeted that, said, "Yes, sir, Brody." The expectations for Isaiah is tough when you've got Mark. But what are your expectations? Yards, catches, touchdowns.
Oh gosh, what did we?
Here, let me bring up.
I was gonna say we hit this
what
earlier
he did
in
last
the week.
Here, let me share my screen here.
It was either the end of last week or earlier this week where we had, it was last week when we were in Columbus, matter of fact, where you had the leaders from last year. And I think we were both in agreement with what we were expecting.
Number 4. Yeah, he was like number 4. So last year he had under 500 yards, which is crazy. But had 6 touchdowns. But when you've got Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews, without, and you're not asking for these without injuries, it's going to be tough to go much above this.
Yeah.
What, like 650, 7?
That's where I was. I think, obviously this exercise is being done with the assumption that everybody's going to be healthy in the tight end room and in the pass catching room and in the running back room and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And we know that there's a calculated risk every single snap, but I would be comfortable with just going north of every single one of the metrics that he posted last year, a little bit north of it, kind of to your point, in that 500-600 range in terms of receiving yards, perhaps the 50 threshold for receptions right around there, and say, I don't know, 5 to 7, 5 to 8 touchdowns. To me, it's a simple product of the mouse that they have to feed. Which is a great problem to have for us. Him in a contract year, not as great, but he wants it. That's why he's out there training this and that. So super chats before we move on to some some AFC North updates. Yes. So it's interesting it's funny. Big Cuz 410. I think we announced this yesterday, but for whatever reason, there's a 7:48 p.m. attached time label. And so he's either becoming a member and then not becoming a member and going back and forth between membership. But anyway, he's on our notification list for super chats. Big Cuz, welcome to channel membership. Not sure what you're doing on the back end. We appreciate you. Yo Jitsu has been a member for 1 month. So that's kind of cool. It must have been. Oh, so he's one of the first to hit the 1 month mark. He probably did it like day one, right? I think he was a day oneer, and he said Voltron's mount up. So, Yo Jitsu, congratulations for being with us for 1 month. We appreciate the support that you give us. And Dre Dog 679 having some fun with his new hashtag. He says, Bobby, Augusta, 1 hour from Columbia, South Carolina. Hashtag Bobby, South Carolina. He's trying to still recruit you. Dre is on the front lines for Columbia, South Carolina. Bobby, you know where you're going to end up, right? You know where you're going to end up. I don't know. Should Columbia be in consideration here? I think Dre wants to be my running mate in the dating game. We could run a little pick and roll out there, a little 3-man weave, 2-man weave. Let's run it up. Whatever. You're not going to go to Georgia. You are hilarious. Your side eye there to the comment or to my as I'm talking was just classic. Oh goodness. Appreciate you, Dre, and appreciate everybody for being here. We are 8 minutes away from bringing in today's featured guest. That's our friend James Ogden from UK Ravens. Has some great perspective, great insights into the draft, and we're going to obviously have that conversation in a Raven-centric manner. But before we do, this episode is brought to you by our friends at Manta Sleep, and it's the official sleep mask partner of the Vault. You know the drill by now. These sleep masks give you a little bit of everything, including just a way of enhancing your sleep. If you guys aren't getting 8 hours per night, if you're not sleeping consistently throughout the entire night, maybe you take a chance. Maybe give it a shot and take a look at these Manta sleep masks, because Sarah's kids and I swear by it. So the sound mask that you see up on the screen is a great option if you like the built-in Bluetooth feature. If you can see yourself using that, go right ahead. Again, all these come with 100% blackout guarantee. So if you need that darkness for sleep, this is going to give it to you. You've got razor-thin headphones that are built in, again, to this specific mask. You've got C-shaped eye cups and zero pressures applied to your eyes, to your eyelids. From there, I know this is the one that I wear, the Manta Sleep Mask Pro. By the way, Sarah, I haven't even told you this yet, but Manta sent us one to give away for our MegaCast coming up 2 weeks from tonight. So we will be giving away a Manta Sleep Mask. We're still working on other little details for opening night of the draft, but you guys know us by now. We do it big that night, and we're fired up about it. The silk and the original sleep
this
mask.
Version of the which version did they send us for a giveaway? Right there, the main one, the one that you have.
Yep, Manta Sleep Mask Pro. So we'll be giving out one of those. You've got the silk, the original. You can toggle through this yourself. Again, you can find this link that's included in the show notes. It's mantasleep.com. If you get something and you find something that you like at checkout, you can use our discount code. It's VAULT10, VAULT10. That'll get you 10% off your next purchase. We appreciate Manta Sleep for the continued support. Thanks to them also for throwing a little something into our draft night, which is 2 weeks from today. Let's continue the conversation, partner. And
Chat wants to know, are you getting 8 hours of sleep a night?
With the mask? See, me and my habits don't typically get 8 hours because that's just me. But I've been on a kick, as you know, through ClassPass, which is that app for fitness that you use when you travel. I have been on a major F45 6 a.m. kick Monday through Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't been getting 8, but I have been going to bed by 10 every night, getting up around 5:15, 5:30. So I'm getting over 7, which is very unusual for me, especially during our in-season mode. So I actually feel really well rested these days.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Pittsburgh Steelers fans don't feel well rested right now, Bobby.
How about the segue? How about that segue?
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
And that is because one TJ Watt. See, it's not just Ravens players that do it. These cryptic posts, players love to do it. Sometimes they're just trolling. Sometimes they're sending messages. And this is where Pittsburgh fans are right now. TJ Watt on Instagram posts a picture of just one thing. It's him walking off the field with the peace sign. With the peace sign. I don't know, Bobby. Is he saying we need world peace? Or is he just like this picture of himself? Or is he saying peace out, Pittsburgh?
You know what I think he's saying, Sarah?
Wondering right now.
I think he's saying we need a quarterback. And if we don't get a quarterback at this point in my Hall of Fame career on the back nine, I'm going to be upset because I'm putting my body through you know what, and I have been for years, and I am a perennial candidate for Defensive Player of the Year along with Myles Garrett in the same gosh darn division. And I need Aaron to sign. I need a clear plan as to who the heck is going to be quarterbacking on the other side of the football that I'm going to be busting my butt for play in and play out in the trenches. Now, I don't know what that is.
Well, here's what's funny. I've got two different stories. It's funny that we've got both Steelers and Browns stuff. So I was talking last night to my co-coach who helps me coach girls basketball. And he has talked himself into this idea that like they're good. The Steelers are good. Like for the upcoming season at the quarterback position. He's like, oh, you know, like again, Mason Rudolph. I mean, if it is him, like it's gonna be fine. Think back to when it was him and the Steelers were like, what did he say? He's like, they're close, they're above 500. And then last year, and he was better. He's like, if you look at the stats, he was better than what either Russell Wilson or Justin Fields did. Like he's just talking himself up. And then he's like, so that's fine, whether it's Aaron or Mason. We just need a 1-year guy because we need to go out and get, what's the third quarterback on the draft? In the draft? Was it I'm forgetting his name.
Meaning after Cam and Shador, who's the third?
Yeah.
Well, I guess depending on the board, but Jackson Dart's probably
Dart. That's it. He's talked him into Dart. He's talked himself into Dart. Okay. He's like, we're good. All we need is 1 year of maybe either Aaron or Mason kind of, and it's just funny to me how like fandom can do that, right? Like you talk yourself into. Meanwhile, here in Baltimore, we've got Lamar and Derrick Henry coming back, all but one starter, and it's like all doom and gloom. But these guys are like talking themselves into something big when they literally don't have a quarterback. So, but back to TJ Watt, they're all kind of wondering, is this got something to do with him wanting a new contract? Because Bobby, in 2025, he is heading into the final year of his contract. His base salary is a lot. It's $21 million. And meanwhile, look at all these guys that just got paid and reset the market. We've heard about it this offseason. Myles Garrett at $40 million a year. Danielle Hunter has 35.6. Max Crosby, 35.5. Then Nick Bosa. You got to go down to number 7 to get back to TJ Watt. And so this is all like, is he really leaving, or is he like trying to use social media, as players often do, to try to get leverage? And here's what's also funny, and what fandom does to you, you kind of get spoiled after a while. That same article that I just had up, I didn't put it in here, but later on they were like, can you really justify making him the highest paid outside linebacker again, given that he turns 31 and that part's legit. But also they were like, because he's coming off a less than stellar season. And I know he was injured, but Bobby, he had an 11 and a half sacks and 6 forced fumbles, 40 solo tackles. And so, that's like a less than stellar season. And over here, when anybody hits double digit sacks, we're just like clamoring, So obviously from a Baltimore point of view, we want that to be a peace sign saying peace out. They're not giving me what I want. But nonetheless, he is still under contract for 1 more year.
And by the way, it's less than stellar when you post 19 sacks the year prior.
Right.
In 2023. And to your point there, he's still managed to put up 11 and a half, can only imagine how much he was double teamed if you go back and look at the reps last year. And to your point, he did so injured, playing through an injury for a chunk of last season, as he's often done in the past. I can remember a 50% TJ Watt, right? It feels like every other time the Ravens and Steelers are playing, typically it's the second game of the two because it's later in the season and he's been so banged up, but he's still out there and he's still impactful, even not at 100%. So if this is the case and he's using that as leverage, he's going to have plenty of it.
Give him a peace sign right back. Love you, TJ. Peace out.
If you're Pittsburgh?
If I'm Sarah Ellison, peace out.
Yeah. I got you. But the hypothetical that we got to bring James on here in a second.
Yeah.
But the hypothetical that you threw out there, I do not believe at this point he is worth a resetting contract. I think Miles is just on another level.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect whatsoever to TJ. We've seen a lot of him over the years. But obviously there are plenty of players in front of them that he should be earning more than right now on an average annual value. I think we can agree there.
Right. And he is under contract, but the question does beg itself come draft time. Would they trade him? They trade him? And that's not going to be the Baltimore. And last thing before James comes on, Deshaun Watson, his quote that kind of is making the rounds on social media, when he vowed returning from his Achilles injury. And he says, quote, "I'm going to be way better than before."
Yep.
Now, I don't know what before he's talking about because it's a low bar since he's been with the Browns. I don't know about his Texans day, but that's another thing. I have a friend that's a Browns fan, and she likens it. She is as loyal as they come. And it's the psychology here because outside looking in, I've always been like impressed with how loyal Browns fans are. And she's like, this is how I've always viewed it. And she's like, I think it's true. She's like, I liken being a Browns fan to being in an abusive relationship.
Oh, goodness.
Where it's like every time they're like, well, this time I'm changed. I won't do that anymore. Like this time it's a new day. And then you just believe it. You're like, yeah, they've changed. And then it's just like a cycle that repeats itself. So from Browns own fans, they're saying, yes, it's like being in an abusive relationship, but that's how they get hope every offseason. That's how they get hope.
I am so curious to see if Daniel Jeremiah is right that they will not select a quarterback at 2, which means they'll go with Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, right? And then later on, whoever's left, right, the scraps of whoever's left at quarterback, they address later on in the draft. It's going to be fascinating to see that. And then fascinating as a result of that, how far Shedeur Sanders might slip. Will he slip past 3 in New York? We'll have to see. Hey, I know we're a little bit late, James. We're bringing you on in just a second here. Sarah, Derrick Henry has just tweeted. This should have gone in the initial clip, but it happened as we were already live. So let me go screen share here just because it popped up on my tweet deck. He has seen my tweet. Okay.
Oh.
And here he is.
Retweet you?
Look at this post game. The King times
Wait, we can't see it.
Oh, you can't see it?
Hold on. Add to stage.
Oops.
Are you sharing
Hold on
it?
a second. Here it is. The two caught up post game in Dallas, it looks like. And he says, "Goat James, I appreciate the love. Always my G. 1 of 1." He tags LeBron. It looks like it's in the concourse, underneath the concourse, behind, underneath the stadium, probably in Dallas. These two catching up last night. But look at these two. That's royalty right there.
That's great. Love it. Little quote retweet from to Bobby Trossett from Derrick Henry.
Well, it's funny. I didn't even tag him. So somebody must have tagged him. Somebody must have done something. But those are icons right there. So that's pretty cool. And I already retweeted it.
Of course.
That's cool.
Why wouldn't you?
Absolutely. More to come on that. That made the show worth it too, that we decided to lead with it, and now Derrick throws in a little something. I'll have to edit that out. All right. Appreciate you guys for being with us on this Thursday. We are 2 weeks out from the NFL draft. And friend of the show, I think it's a couple drafts ago. It was probably maybe 2022. Maybe he'll remember. But we had him on during one of our megacasts. He is a proud member of the UK Ravens. He is a graduate of the scouting academy. So this guy knows his stuff when it comes to evaluating prospects, giving us some insights that we need right now. We desperately need some insights on these prospects that are coming out and that the Ravens might be interested in over the next couple of weeks and all throughout this scouting process. So without further ado, friend of the show rejoins us. It's our guy, James Ogden. Great to see you, my friend. Was it 2022? Did I get that correct? April 2022?
Yeah, I think it was April 2022. Yeah, and I've been on again since. I think I came on during the international week when you guys were just after the international week, after the London games. And so yeah, it's great to see you guys again. Really good to be on.
Good to see you. And James, were you at the combine? I feel like you were.
I wasn't at the combine this year. I would love to be at all of the big pre-draft events, but obviously that'd be a lot of air miles for me. So
gotcha.
Not as easy.
Well,
so go ahead, Bobby.
Sorry, I just wanted to say congratulations on this whole affiliation, right? The Ravens have now a presence and the ability to market and whatnot in the UK. And I think that just speaks to, one, how global the game is. We know that. But you guys have such a presence. And I feel like you and Ben and all these guys that I've gotten to know, and I'm sure Sarah's gotten to know as well in passing or from afar through social media, you guys have been on the front lines, I feel like, of that partnership, and it's become contagious out there. And I look back so fondly on the time that we did spend out there with you guys, for a week in the fall of 2023. And I got to think that this partnership means that there's more on the horizon. I'm sure you guys are fired up about it.
Yeah, we're really fired up about it. It's really great. Like it's been, it was a long time coming after that, the Jags debacle in 2017 that we don't talk about. But I think the visit over a year ago now has given some better vibes for the Ravens. And so they sort of feel like they want to do this now. And it's really flattering that they've chosen the UK as the market that they're going to. And I think most of the Ravens fans in the UK, I think, can take a bit of pride in it because, there's been all sorts of interactions that you've seen from over here in the UK. From the fact that the O was ridiculously loud in the national anthem at Wembley at Tottenham Stadium. That it was about 50% Baltimore Ravens fans, and a lot of those were UK-based fans, obviously. To the getting on Baltimore news when the Justin Tucker kick went over in Detroit that time when we were having one of our meetups. So we the game has grown in the UK quite a lot, but our UK Ravens fan base and our little chapter of fans has grown quite a lot, and we've worked pretty hard at that. And all of the guys have done a great job over the years, and the Ravens have been talking to us in the lead up to this announcement, and then been talking to us after the announcement. And they've got some big plans and some things I think that will be announced pretty imminently that I can't really talk about yet, but that will be really exciting for UK Ravens fans.
That's awesome. James, I made a UK rookie mistake after that Jacksonville game, and kind of tongue in cheek. I was like, Ravens should never go back to UK. And then I got it. Oh my gosh. They did not let me live that down. I was like, guys, I'm just saying it was a bad game. I'm not being for real.
I like London. I like the UK.
Yeah, I do. I actually lived in Cambridge for a year. Like, I'm cool. We're cool. Well, transitioning to the draft. Yesterday we had Jason from Huddle Up Films, and I felt like we dove in quite deep with the defense, and we can do that here. But I wanted to get your thoughts on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, it feels like the Ravens might use their first-round pick on a defensive player because there's so many more places that it could happen and it might line up with the depth. But would you be okay with the Ravens selecting a guard in the first round? And is there anybody worthy of that first round number 27 slot?
Yeah, I think so. I think the talent in this draft is definitely the talent in the section of the draft where the Ravens will be picking is most likely to be defensive. Like, I just think that if the Ravens end up best player available, there's a high chance that it's going to be a defensive player. Mm-hmm. But there are definitely, I feel like the Ravens will have some offensive line type fallback positions, or that's how I see this draft playing out, where you have a set of sort of 20, sort of, I don't know, 15 to 20 guys. A lot of those guys are defensive that will be sort of really high on their board, and the Ravens will be hoping drop to them at 27. I'm sure they have the ambition of the 15th ranked player dropping to them at 27. But I think just behind that is a set of offensive linemen that are very interesting. And I think, and three of them are guards, and probably the safest picks are guards. So the three guys that I would be happy with at 27, I think, would be Grazer Bell from North Dakota State, who's an offensive tackle will be transitioning inside to guard or center, but obviously with the Ravens will probably play guard. There is Donovan Jackson, who some people would love to see stay out offensive tackle. I think he projects better inside to guard at Ohio State. And then the third guy, who's a really interesting discussion in terms of his fit with the Ravens, is Tyler Booker, who is an outstanding prospect, a brilliant pass protector, an absolute mauler in the run game. But it's interesting with the way the Ravens run game is formed right now. He is probably less good a fit as the other two guys that I mentioned, Jackson and Zabel.
Hey, so you're not the only one, obviously, that thinks this is leaning towards the defensive side of the ball. Todd McShay put out his mock draft 3.0, former ESPN draft analyst, as a lot of us know, now doing his own thing in this space with the Ringer. Quick little clip for you. I would love to get your reaction on the two players that he's wrestling back and forth with. Ultimately chose one of them who's been mocked to Baltimore a lot. But your thoughts on this after this, just in a second here.
With the Ravens, I think Walter Nolan would actually be a really good fit here. I gave him Derrick Henry, right?
Yeah, they're both great, though. You don't lose in that situation. You get either one of them, they're great.
So he went with Derrick Henry, James, as many others have. But Walter Nolan there goes to 31 in his mock to Kansas City, of course, who's right behind Baltimore at 27. And Nolan, for those who aren't aware, is the interior D lineman from Ole Miss. Harmon, who we've spoke about a couple times on this show in recent weeks, is the defensive tackle out of Oregon. If you had to choose, your back's up against the wall. Who are you taking between the two?
I'm taking Derrick Harmon. It's very close, though, for me between Harmon and Nolan. I think Harmon is an appreciate the details type of defensive lineman. Like he has a guy who has Pro Bowl potential, I think, especially in the Ravens scheme with the way they set their defensive front. And you've got to say that his intelligence, the way he plays with play strength, the way he excels in both phases of the game. So if you want to go and look at sort of one of his best tapes, go and watch the Ohio State game, which Oregon obviously lost in the playoff. But they threw everything at Oregon in terms of a running scheme. Chip Kelly cooked up a chaotic masterclass from Ohio State, and Derrick Harmon was the best player on the Oregon defense, and he sort of had that offense's number that day, and they really struggled to block him all day long. He's a real tough guy, versatility, like everything that the Ravens like. Derrick Harmon is, and I'd be surprised if he's around. Is my thought, really. But Walter Nolan is also an intriguing prospect. Like Walter Nolan, in some ways, possibly has a higher upside in terms of as a pass rusher. He's less complete right now, but he's much more explosive than Harmon. I mean, Harmon's an explosive guy, but Walter Nolan's really special. He was a really highly recruited guy, but he sort of maximizes his power as a pass rusher. He's got a little bit further to go as a run defender. But I think the Ravens have shown in the past now that they, many years ago under Ozzie, they would draft two gappers and they would draft guys who excelled at stopping the run. And in recent years, they've been happier taking these guys that are a bit more of a project as a run defender because they know that they can develop these guys. And so they take guys that are a bit more explosive that they can coach up. So I think Nolan will be high on their board too, even though he seems more like a fit for a one gap type scheme. But I think Nolan, I'm giving these I'm trying to give a comp in my draft guide that'll be released next week that's focused on all these prospects, focused on how the Ravens will see them. I'm trying to give like a fun comp for a guy that was drafted by the Ravens for each of these prospects. And my guy for Walter Nolan was Nnamdi Madubuike. So that tells you how highly I think of Nolan. And then my comp for Derrick Harmon was I couldn't make one comp work. So I said that he was a cross between the best bits of Arthur Jones and Brandon Williams. So that would be pretty special on the Baltimore defensive line, I think.
Yeah, well, both those guys were, especially Brandon Williams, definitely special. James, you had said when I was asking about offensive line, you said that, the Ravens would probably hope that one of 15 guys would drop to 27. And it would likely be defense. Can you name maybe 2 or 3 that you think has a chance to drop and you'd be so happy that the Ravens came away with him?
So I think that there's a few guys that have a chance to drop. I think the 2 defensive linemen we mentioned have a chance, and I'd be very happy with both of those. Jedi Barron has a chance to drop as well. I'd be really surprised. It seems like the NFL media is starting to catch up to how good Jedi Barron is. He would be a really great fit, I think, for the Ravens to continue with Marlon Humphrey sort of playing an inside-outside role, because he could do that too. And he's a guy who's a bit smaller, but I think very highly of him. He's a highly intelligent corner, and he's got all the athleticism that you need. I think the other guys to sort of talk about are Jihad Campbell, who is an inside linebacker, but potentially could convert into an edge rusher. I prefer him at inside linebacker. He's one of the best players in the draft, but he tore his labrum at the combine and has had some surgery. So he could start to fall. And then there's the pass rushers, if a Shamar Stewart falls, or I'm high on Donovan Ezaraku as well. So there's a few guys that could fall that I think I'd be sort of doing cartwheels for if that was the case. And then there's a really interesting conversation I would have about Luther Burden as well at wide receiver, which would be very controversial, and I don't think the Ravens are going to do it. But I'm really high on Luther Burden, so that's a conversation. I think he's a guy who was not asked to do anywhere near as much as is in his wheelhouse at Mizzou. He was criminally underused. And I think I make a bit of a projection with him, and I make no bones about that. But I think you can project him to the same type of impact, probably a couple of years down the line, but the same type of impact that some of the top ranked receivers that we've had come out over previous years, people like Malik Neighbors. I think Burden is that level of talent, and I think you don't often get a chance to draft a receiver that talented at 27. So everybody seems to think he's going to be there at 27. I think they should be at least having a prep conversation about what if Luther Burden's there. But I don't know how you make that wide receiver room work if you did it, and you'd be forsaking a lot of other talent on the board. So I'm not sure I could pull the trigger, but I think he's worth a conversation.
What you're looking at right now on the screen is our friend Jason Smith's Raven-centric big board. And by the way, you just teased a draft guide that I know we've used in the past. When did you say that's dropping? James, you got me?
Oh, I lost you then. What did you say, Bobby? Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I was just saying, up on the screen, we're taking a look here, obviously, at our friend Jason Smith from Huddle It Up Films, his Raven-centric annual big board, and Burden's right there at wide receiver. He's his third-ranked positional player at that position. But you mentioned your draft guide. I know we've referenced that in the past. When is that dropping?
So that'll drop this time next week, 1 week out from the draft.
Okay.
So this year it'll be up over 50,000 words. There's long form reports on all of the guys that'll be a first round pick that could be the first round pick for the Ravens. Shorter reports that'll probably get you through day 2. I don't go into day 3; it's a bit too far. But basically, I'll give you the Ravens comp that I was talking about before, a bit of a summary, the full report, and then I also do at least a paragraph a bit more on how those guys fit with the Ravens. I think I'm like Jason's very similar to me in the sense that we both feel like you can't. When you look at the big NFL draft media and you look at mock drafts and big boards from those guys, what you see is a generic board that doesn't quite take account of all of the nuances of playing for the Baltimore Ravens. And so that's what Jason tries to do every year with his board that I love looking at every year, and we talk about on his channel loads. But you've got to try and evaluate players with a Baltimore Ravens lens, otherwise you lose what you aren't able to see what would work for the Ravens, I think.
Heck yeah. And we'll be looking forward to that next week. And you guys can follow James, by the way, at NFL Ogden. So if you're a betting man, who is the starting safety alongside Kyle Hamilton next fall? And is he a rookie?
So I think the safety position is a really interesting one about what they want to do, right? Because I think Darius Washington will be starting at safety next year. I think what they want to do is get Kyle Hamilton back into the 2023 type role. I think they've got a fallback position where they can play him at safety with Darius Washington and not worry about it. But I think they're going to be on the lookout for a safety that allows them to free Hamilton up into that freer role that they had in 2023. There's a few guys in them do that. Earlier, I mean, just talking about the guys early on, I think Xavier Watts is a guy who will probably be available in the second round, who I love, who is more the Marcus Williams type, who will be able to play some deep post and will allow them to do some different things on the back end. Malachi Starks, if he falls to them, is a phenomenal safety and a great player, and I think he would fulfill more of the Hamilton type role from the end of last year and would start alongside Darius Washington. I think
got a little pause
because I think they have to.
Sorry, we lost you for a second. Go ahead.
Okay, brother. We got you now.
I was just saying that I think they will address safety in the draft. I think they will pick up somebody that allows them to free up Kyle Hamilton to do more again. And I think it'll be a guy. I think they will look early on, and we'll see what happens. But I suspect they will try and add somebody, because I just think it really adds so much to their defense to free Kyle Hamilton up in that role. And they tried to do it all the way through the start of the season. You know, they really tried to make Marcus Williams and Eddie Jackson work on the back end in the first half of the season, so they could keep Kyle Hamilton in that free role until they had to ditch it and put him back at that split safety role.
Hey, I think you mentioned Barron at cornerback. I was just reading Jeff Zrebiec's, kind of review of how good Eric DeCosta has done in his first 6 drafts, I think it is, something like that. And at cornerback, he obviously has hit on Nate Wiggins, and yeah, that's his first round pick. But some of these corners that he's gotten in, day 3 hasn't been as good. And so what is your kind of feeling on the depth of the cornerback class? Because the Ravens just haven't hit, but they do need to add a corner. Like we know this with they have Cheeto. So, if they want, they could start Cheeto and Wiggins and Marlon Humphrey. But is there anybody that is not a first rounder that you're like, okay, the Ravens could come back around and he'd be a good addition and maybe eventually for real develop, whereas some of these guys in the past have not?
Yeah, so I think in this is a pretty good class at corner. I think I'll use the phrase that you hear Eric DeCosta say a lot, where there's guys in every round, I think, for them to take. I think you are sort of forsaking some things when you start to look at corners further and further down the line, and you're trying to work out what flaws a guy has that doesn't matter or will fit best in the Ravens scheme. He's probably a second round pick, so that's not that deep. But Benjamin Morrison is a guy I quite like outside of the first round. He's not the quickest or the most fluid athlete at the position, but he's got really sound technique. He's a great processor, and he has really good functional strength. He reminds me a little bit of Marlon Humphrey in the way that he plays the in the way that he plays the run. He's less athletic than Marlon, but that would be an interesting pick if the medical checks out on him. There are some guys further down as well. I would say I quite like Jacob Parrish out of Kansas State. He's much smaller. He's 5'9", but he plays much bigger than that 5'9". And he's I think Dane Brugler said that he's short, but he's not small, and that's very true. He's a tough and physical guy who will meet bigger physical ball carriers in the running game, and has ridiculous speed and quickness to mirror in short areas, and is another guy who might be a candidate to play with Marlon Humphrey inside out. So there's definitely options throughout the draft. I think Jedi Barron is the best corner in the draft, and so if you got him to fall to the Ravens, that would be fantastic. But I'd be very surprised if he gets out of the top 15.
Hey, James, last one from me. Asked the same question to Jason yesterday. Curious to hear your answer. Who is the most intriguing trade candidate not named Mark Andrews? Because I thought both Sarah and I perked up a little bit. Not that it was a surprise, but when Jason said, hey, it's Charlie Kohler for my liking, that was interesting to me because every single tight end, as we know, including the fullback, is entering a contract year. You'd have to think that they want to handle that position for the future at some point, assuming they're not going to keep everybody throughout draft weekend. So is it Kohler or is it somebody that maybe we'd be overlooking like an Adafe, even though there's not a lot in that outside linebacker room the way it's currently constructed? Well, excuse me, there's a lot, but there's not a lot of answers long-term outside of Kyle. Kyle's a Band-Aid, as we all know. No disrespect to him. He's on the back nine of his career, has given them great productivity. But outside of Dafe and Kyle, they're double-digit guys last year. You got more questions than answers.
Yeah, to be honest, you hit on Adafe. He would be the guy that I think that they would consider. I think it's a little bit, there's the track record of the Marquise Brown trade on draft day where the Ravens wanted to get cheaper and younger at a position. Adafe always contract is going to skyrocket soon. So that may be the position that they turn to. There are some options in this edge class. I don't think it's as deep as some people would say it is. I think there are some really intriguing options to take, and the Ravens have continued to do their succession planning thing at the edge position, where they've taken guys and each year and tried to develop them. I thought Tavius Robinson looked a lot better in the last season, and perhaps he's going to take a step. And they've seen that in the building, and they're happy with him. And Adisa Isaac's taken a step forward as well, and then they'll get somebody else in Chuck Smith's pass rushing school from this draft and try and develop them. So that's where I think I would go for it, but at the moment I would feel really uncomfortable with it, just as you mentioned, because it takes away some of the production in that room, and I would, if they did take that away, I think you would have to be looking at defensive line edge early to try and bolster that potential pass rush.
Just got one super chat here before we let you go. Nuno Alves asks, where can UK Ravens fans go to see the games in London?
So we run meetups all year round, all across the country, not just in London. So you won't be able to watch every game, every Ravens potential game in London, but we have loads of meetups that we run across London. There's loads of different bars that are able to accommodate us. There's a great Philly bar called Passyunk Avenue that we've been to before, and we also have great relationships with a couple of other bars in London. So there's a few places that you can go, but equally across the country, there's always meetups around the country, and you can find them on our UK Ravens X account.
What are the chances that you remember where we met up, the name of that bar that was connected to the hostel?
It's really bad that I don't remember that bar because it's one that we do quite a lot, and there might be some events coming up soon at that place. So I'm going to try and find it, and I'll tweet it out for you.
It's all good, man. I just remember walking in there and the amount of TVs, Sarah, that were playing the 2012-2013 Super Bowl in New Orleans. I mean, it was just an awesome atmosphere, sound on, everybody from everywhere. Really, there were a lot of people from Europe that were coming in from other countries in Europe with Ravens jerseys on. I remember meeting some Polish guys, some German guys. They're all towering over me, by the way. And it was just an awesome experience. And you and I obviously had a great time that day. So it's great to see you again, my friend. Congratulations again on this partnership, this merging. The Ravens are now doing a lot in the UK and marketing. And I just think, again, like we said off the top, it speaks to what you guys really have cultivated out there. And I look forward to getting back out there eventually when they play again.
Thanks, Bobby. Yeah, well, welcome to come back. And you, Sarah, you as well, Sarah. It'd be good to see you both out there.
Thanks,
Heck
James.
Yeah. Hey, and by the way, you got this just on the way out. You're going to plug the draft guide you got coming up next week. You can be found at NFL Ogden on X. Anything else that we should know?
No, I think that's good. There's our UK Ravens podcast does a draft spectacular on next week, and so that podcast will be out next week, probably on Friday. You'll have me and Gordon McGuinness from PFF going back and forth about some of the draft prospects. And yeah, just the draft guide, I think when it comes out next week, is the main piece of content that I put out there. Now you can find my guide from last year pinned, and my guide this year will be, like I said, similar depth on all these prospects and how they fit with the Ravens.
I like that name, Draft Spectacular.
Heck yeah. Love it. Appreciate you, man. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
James Ogden, graduate of the Scouting Academy, UK Ravens member. Awesome dude. Somebody that's been really helpful to me, Sarah, honestly, when I went out there in the fall of 23. He set up all kinds of stuff. And that bar that the name slips us both was an awesome pre-game day experience. And there must have been 10 TVs, 10 to 15 TVs. And it wasn't a hole in the wall, but it wasn't exactly like a huge type of sports bar that you have in America that's got, multiple floors. But it was just awesome. I enjoyed getting to know him and his boys out there. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Super chats?
Yes, let's do it. And we had a new member. We have a new member, Heather McCubbins, who, by the way, you know what I think about when I think of Heather?
What?
Desmond Watson. Because she turned us on to Desmond Watson, who is the Florida Gator that we spoke about, who weighs in at 464 pounds.
Was that Heather?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Heather. And she also has a message as well.
The only way I was going to remember that is if you talked about his thighs. Remember that stuck in my mind.
Well, thighs, and we both perked up at 464 pounds because that's.
I literally thought that was a typo when she wrote that. I was like,
that's
that can't be
big
right.
number. And by the way, like I did start to kind of see Desmond's name pop up in different draft circles online, and I was like, okay, where have we been? Desmond Watson. So thank you, Heather, and thank you also for a separate super chat. She writes, "It's our year this year." And Dreams, who's celebrating 1 month of channel membership, Sarah, he drops in a super chat.
Oh, a month. I love it. Probably the most out in the open I've ever been in an NFL draft. No idea who we are taking, and we're getting close. It's always tough at the back of the draft.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I think it's kind of cool. I'm just realizing this in real time. When you become a channel member for 1 month, not only do you get to celebrate that in the super chat, but you get to put a comment in there as well for this. This is your month super chat. Essentially, this is your month donation to the channel. So super cool, Kuyan. We appreciate you, man. Yvette says, didn't they sign AR last night? Hashtag Voltrons. I think I saw this come in during our AFC North segment. Rodgers has not signed in Pittsburgh yet, as far as I know.
Right.
Whether it's a foregone conclusion is another conversation. It's not set in stone based on insiders. Hasn't come forth yet, Yvette. But the understanding is, it seems universally that it's just a matter of when, not if. But you never know with Aaron. Dre Dog 679 feeling generous today, Sarah, my future running mate.
Yeah, he says the problem with the wide receiver room is the Ravens won't challenge Bateman at wide receiver 2, or wide receiver 2 should be earned, not given. It's insane to pass on wide receiver talent because of Bateman. I would agree with that last year. I don't agree with it now. I felt like I think he did earn it this last year.
I do. I agree.
Last year, I was right there with Dre Dog. I was right there. I was like, what are we doing here? But I mean, with the amount of touchdowns he had, he and Lamar need to continue to be on the same page because a lot of the interceptions were targeted towards Bateman, but I feel like he established himself and earned going into this season as wide receiver 2.
Yeah, I would agree. But again, it would have been we would have been lockstep a year ago, and that's what we were saying a year ago. C King says that beard is good. So saith I. C King talking about our guy, James Ogden, who just logged off a couple minutes ago. We appreciate him. Guys, you know how it goes too. His Twitter account, which we had up on screen. These guys are carving out times during their days, during their work days to give us some insights and join the show. So if you would, hit him up at NFL Ogden on X and just drop in a quick thank you. Mention him. He's the man, and his draft guide's coming out next week. How do you want to handle? Are we pushing EDC evaluations to tomorrow?
Let's push that for sure because that'll take a minute.
Okay.
But we could just really quick, because remember when we had Jason on yesterday, we'll use this as a quick hit. We had on Jason yesterday, he was talking a lot about Donovan Ezaraku. I think I got that. He liked him a lot. He felt like a lot of the guys at the outside linebacker position would already be gone. Like he felt obviously Abdul Carter would be gone, Walker, Green, and Michael Williams. And so anyway, I just thought this was interesting. Ryan Mink from Ravens Media caught up with Mel Kiper, who we can't get a hold of, unfortunately.
Mel's tough.
Mel's
but you
tough.
know what's funny, Sarah?
Yeah.
Field Yates does all the shows with him and whatnot. The other day, he made a hilarious comment that Mel has not answered a text message of his, meaning his coworkers, in a non-thumbs up emoji in over a year. Everything that he's wrote back to Field, who he does these shows with, via text, is a thumbs up. And it's news to me that Mel even has a cell phone, because when I would have him on during my Ravens radio days, I only had one way of getting a hold of him. Email and a landline. I have both of those things still.
Yeah.
And literally going back to as recently as last year, I would call his home line.
And didn't you say like his wife picked up and then would put him on?
Speak to Mrs. Kiper, all right? I think Ken Island, somewhere, they live somewhere over across the bridge. And Mrs. Kiper, how are you? This is Bobby Trossett from Baltimore. Hey, I've called this line before to coordinate with your husband. He's a hot commodity right now. He is the man. He's literally the originator of the NFL draft.
Yeah.
And the spectacle that it is now. I would love to get him for 15 minutes. Anyway, I always try. I love him and his wife. They are such nice people. And he's been so kind to me earlier on in my career. So anyway, when I said it's tough to get a hold of him, that's why. He's old school.
He's old school. Bobby, you just saying that reminds me, because my first cell phone, I was in college, and I had, this is before iPhones came out and all that kind of stuff. So when you're a teenager and you're trying to get a hold of a friend, or say like somebody you have a crush on or something like that, you'd call the house and you'd be like, please don't let the parents pick up. Please don't let the parents pick up. And then they'd pick up. You're like, oh, hi, Mr. Smith. It's Jimmy home. And they're like, who is this? And then you're always worried that, like, I know my siblings would always try to like listen in on phone calls. And so you're listening, like, do you hear breathing in the background? Like, it takes you back so old school. So.
And Sarah, even though you and I obviously have the well-known age gap between the two of us, that is something that I can relate to.
Okay.
And Tori, my freaking younger sister, would be on the other separate landline upstairs when I would be in the basement talking to my girlfriend that in middle school, right? And as I was just actually telling your kids, ironically, last weekend, I did not have, I think you might have been there too for this, I did not have a cell phone as the oldest in my family until 7th grade. They held out. And I was one of the last ones. So in order to get a hold of me, you're either calling the home line and facing my mother, or my best friend AU, because he had a cell phone way early on.
Yeah. Oh, the days.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Great tangent.
Back
Love
to
a
Mel
tangent.
Kiper. And he was asked by Ryan who he preferred for the Ravens specifically, between Mike Green, James Pierce, is it Michael or Michael? Because I hear both pronunciations.
I've heard both as well. I have been going Michael, but who knows?
I don't know. Shamar Stewart or Donovan Ezaraku. So Mel says he's a big Ezaraku fan, just like Jason. He says, I love the way he plays. He's got great bend. He closes. He has production. And talent. And I was like, well, how much production does he have? Because I couldn't remember if Jason mentioned that.
Yeah.
Bobby at Boston College last year. Check that out. He had 16 and a half sacks.
Yep.
He's a captain there. I was watching a video of, again, it's not like SEC stuff, but Boston College is no like, Division III school either, Division II. So anyway, I was watching a video where they did a profile of him, and all his teammates were talking about how great he is the lead. So he's a John Harbaugh guy because he's like a former team captain, all that kind of stuff. But he won the Ted Hendricks Award, which is the nation's top tight end or defensive end. First team Associated Press All-American. The ACC Defensive Player of the Year. First team All-ACC. Ranked second in the FBS with 16.5 sacks. Third with 20.5 tackles for loss. Led the team with 3 forced fumbles. I watched one where he engulfed a quarterback, and instead of taking him down, just like pull that out, rip the ball out. Boop. Played in 12 games with 11 starts, 80 tackles and a pass breakup. And he didn't play in his team's Pinstripe Bowl, which was a loss to Nebraska. But he definitely seems like a He's got that production. He's got it.
Well,
and the last time the Ravens drafted from Boston College worked out pretty well with Zay Flowers. Just saying.
I was just going to say they played a couple years together at BC. And by the way, I got you covered here with 2 different prospects that could potentially find themselves in Baltimore. Here it is. Al Karsten, kind enough to have all these pronunciations. Michael is indeed Michael.
Okay.
And Donovan, his last name is Ezaraku.
But not E. It's not E because Jason was pronouncing that E. I was taking note.
Not the way that Al has it here, and he seems like he's got this down pat. Let's see who he is.
What would it look like if it was E? Would it be an EE?
I think it'd be double E. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Ezaraku.
I'm going to go ahead and bookmark the heck out of this thing. Let me tell you, that's going to be a bookmark for the ages, folks. But Michael and Ezaraku.
Ezaraku. Okay, Michael.
And thank you, Al, because that is clutch.
That is so
right
clutch.
there. All right. Does that finish up quick hits for us, or do we have a couple others? Should we just rip through these real quick?
Yeah.
A list of every quarterback, just some fodder here, but a list of every QB in NFL history to have a season with 40-plus passing touchdowns and under 5 interceptions. There's only one of them, and it's 2024 Lamar Jackson. And the birthday day is in order here for 2 birthday buddies, owner and general manager. It's always crazy to think every year when this date comes up. And Lacey's put up some awesome posts, by the way, for Eric, which just I think kind of showcases the strong relationship that those two have, having been together for so long and crossed over during their time, obviously, when she was. Do you remember what she did specifically? I'm just forgetting off the top of my head. Lacey, with the organization, was she an intern, or I can't remember how she was involved?
Yeah, she. This is. Wait. Now I'm getting the sisters confused. Lacey's the younger sister?
Well,
who are you talking about?
Lacey, wife of Eric.
I don't remember her at the Ravens. I remember her younger sister.
I thought there was some involvement, some affiliation with the Ravens, but I might be.
I just remember her sister because that was when they asked me to apply for an assistant position in the scouting department. And then Lacey's younger sister also applied and she got it. And I ended up moving to the media side, which worked out well for me. But yeah, I don't remember Lacey ever working there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I want to say she and I have spoke about it before, but don't quote me on that. But happy birthday to Eric. Happy birthday to Steve Bisciotti. Both of them celebrating birthdays today. And we have a couple closing super chats since we finished up as well. I think we left off with C King. So, and he writes, I don't like this Bateman slander in the chat.
I'm seeing
it. Coming from Dre Dog, right? So don't go take it up with Dre. See, go take it up with Dre.
Dre Dog stirring the pot. He's stirring the pot.
You know it. What is Yvette referring to here? It may have been AI.
Aaron Rodgers. Who's AI?
So was this me calling Mrs. Kuiper? Because that's definitely not AI.
No, I think that because she had said, did they sign Aaron Rodgers? So maybe she's saying maybe it was somebody else. I don't know who AI is, though. Yeah,
precisely.
Sorry.
Here's another one from C King for you.
He says, I hope Rashad ain't watching this. Y'all some haters for real. So say a thigh, the C King.
Still got to get him on the show. Rave Kingdom, who's celebrating 1 month of channel membership here. And of course, I'd imagine he's just basking in the reality that is another year with Ben Cleveland. So Rave, we know that you're appreciative of him being re-signed on him, even if it is a very modest deal with no guaranteed money. But Rave writes, did Bate earn? Like when he dropped a wide open pass and blamed the sun, or he dropped a wide open pass that caused a pick? Has yet to have 1,000 yards, has he? So Rave,
are wide receivers too supposed to get 1,000 yards?
If you're in Cincinnati, if you're in Cincy,
he put up, but that's like the only place, and it's like not normal at all. He put up 756 yards, 16.8 yards per reception, and 9 touchdowns. That is for sure wide receiver 2 numbers. Very, very, especially when you're using their tight ends as much as you are, and your running back.
Like we said.
Now, that's not to say you're right. That pass that he dropped in the sun, that was last year?
Well, the pass that he dropped was ultimately intercepted, wasn't it? He was on the wrong end of one of Lamar's 4 picks this year. I know that.
Not one. He was on he had one that was basically, he was at least 2, Bobby.
Okay.
2 of the 4. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Which I already called out when he was said, like, they need to get on the same page in terms of interceptions.
Yes. Going back to what we said a couple minutes ago, I could not agree with you more. This type of conversation, this type of dialogue, I was extremely receptive to a year ago. Yeah. Rashad went out there, and while guys have to earn their keep every single year, and he has to show up, and he has to participate, and he has to keep stacking, I think he earned the right last year, and I know you do too, Sarah, as the title of coming into 2025, which will be the second year of that 3-year extension that he received, which was a surprise this time last year, as wide receiver 2. I think he's earned that.
Yeah.
The numbers tell you that. What he put on tape tells you that. And the hope is that he can continue to stack on top of that.
And then you got DeAndre Hopkins behind him, who could be the wide receiver 2. Even though that's not, he signed his depth. But nobody's saying the Ravens aren't going to draft a wide receiver. We're just talking about in round 1. Like, it's just when there's other pressing needs. By the way, I think
super chats are flying in right now.
I lost it. Somebody claimed that they put in a super chat yesterday and we never read it.
Mike's came in like really late. I think we just didn't see it until the live was over. So
rewrite what you said and we'll put it up here, Mike.
Mike's upset. He says he's down $1.99.
He wants a refund. Just put it up here.
Mike. Hey, Mike, go refund it then, will you?
No, don't do that. Right? No, don't listen to Bobby. Just rewrite what you wrote yesterday. And we'll put it up on the screen. You don't need to rewrite it as a super chat.
I like to get after Mike. He calls in a couple times in the personal channel. And we have some good spirited conversations. Mike, we ain't reading it anyway. You didn't get it in time yesterday. Rave says a Bateman competition is free agents. Wallace barely got picked up. Only person above him is a 5'5" wide receiver. Stop it. And another one from C King for you.
They are still fighting about Bateman. They want time on screen too to talk about it. Bateman is a dog. Oh boy. 10 toes that belong to me are on the surface of this planet. While I make this statement, 10 toes that belong to me are on the surface of this planet. He's using your line 10 toes down. I hate that line now. I think you've ruined it for me, Bobby. But the way he said it, it kind of makes me like want to gag every time you say it. I'm like, that's where it's gotten to for me. I'm just like, oh.
How has it gotten to that point?
It's just weird. 10 toes down. We're like, toes. What are we talking about here?
Oh, man.
But C King has his 10 toes down. Oh.
Mike,
is that
Kyle
it?
fell to 14 because of his speed concerns, so I hope Will Johnson falls as well, responding to Jason from yesterday, which was his super chat that we missed. And he's correct. I think there were some that were hesitant because of Kyle's 40 time. I think it was a 4.5? I can't remember what it was, but there were some concerns about that. Baltimore decided to take a flyer on him at 14. How'd that work out? Pretty darn well.
Pretty well.
Thanks, Mike.
Are there any sayings that I use that you're just sick of the way I am with 10 toes down? See, that was a long hesitation. I feel like I'm good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, earlier, I thought that when you were talking about your coach, your assistant coach, and the Steelers conversations that you've had with him, that maybe you would have given him a woof. But I don't dislike that phrase. I think it's funny when you use it. You haven't used it in a while.
In a minute.
So give us all one on our way out here, please.
Yeah, well, because we haven't seen any games where you're seeing like woof like plays. You know what I mean? Yeah, how about Deshaun Watson saying he's coming all the way back? Woof.
There it is. There it is. And there these two are Chef Trez.
You're not going to stop 10 toes down, and I'm definitely not stopping Wolf.
Nope.
Nah.
And Chef Trez and Christian Almgren don't appear to be stopping their Patreon commitment to us on a monthly basis, which we appreciate. So, Chef, Christian, this is your monthly shout out. Thank you both for being part of the community. Thanks to our new channel members that hopped on today. We really appreciate that. We're over 70 strong now. We just rolled it out last month. A lot of you have been reaching out to us personally and being like, hey, we want to get more involved with the channel outside of Patreon. And we're like, okay, I guess we'll go start and launched this channel membership. So there's a bunch of different tiers that you get to choose from. There's some incentives available for you. And obviously the motivation of it all, maybe if you appreciate the show, is a great way to give back to the show and support it on a monthly basis. So we appreciate all you guys. Thanks to our patrons. Thanks to our channel members. And thanks to all of you for hanging out with us today. We've got over 1,600 strong. On your way out, if you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so we can be notified and you can be notified of when we're dropping our daily live content. Anything else, Sarah? We're 2 weeks out from the draft, which you and I are busy planning behind the scenes.
Sebastian's got it wrong. He said, my best phrase is nothing good happens after 2 a.m. That's your phrase. My phrase is nothing good happens after midnight. And let me tell you guys something. Bobby was a very bad influence on my 15-year-old son. Because Bobby was fighting about this in front of him. I'm like, Bobby, it's midnight. He's not staying out till 2. Bobby's like, no, it's 2 a.m. To my 15-year-old. What's wrong with you?
Two things. Two things here. One, mine's the correct phrase. But more importantly, okay, more importantly, I probably could have been a little bit more mindful of what I was arguing and who I was arguing in front of, okay?
Probably.
It was one of those, you're very passionate about a phrase that I've known my entire life, dating back to middle school, where the school dean put it in all of our heads, and it's a joke within the group. And I got lost in the sauce a little bit of the argument because
yes, you did. Bobby,
because
check this
Guardy
out.
Party. What's Guardy?
When you call him Guardy Party, that's the other thing. This is not what I wanted to bring up.
What is he? Is he 14? 15?
He's 15. He's about to get his driver's license in July, and you're trying to promote staying out till 2 a.m. That's not happening over here.
The angle that you see this is now, it makes a lot of sense now. And what are you doing here? What is this?
Look, I put in nothing good happens. I didn't put in a time afterwards. What does Google bring up? Nothing good happens after midnight.
I tell you what, AI overview, you lied to us. And they told us Brandon Stevens was a 6th round pick.
Oh, I'm going to fight.
They were wrong on that earlier in the week.
It's not.
Here we go.
Right,
she's got to use a different site now. Watch this.
Somewhere.
Look at this. She's got to use a different site.
Sources. There it is again. Nothing good happens after midnight. They named their show after it.
Sarah, go down one now. Wait, don't gloss over Wikipedia.
No, look, here's a 10 p.m. We'll do that one. All right, you saw nothing, Bobby. You saw nothing.
Everybody saw in the YouTube.
No, nobody
audience.
saw anything.
Oh,
nobody saw anything.
Dang right they did.
And let's also remember, there might be a different standard for a 30-year-old bachelor and a house full of kids. This guy.
Of course there is. I was arguing based on principle, not by audience. And that was one of my questionable. I'm sure I got a mark on me coming off that weekend. I thought I did okay, but the mark is clear. It's been written in ink.
I will never forget that. Hopefully my son does forget it. Hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah. He hasn't brought it up since.
We can both agree on that. All right. We appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on this Thursday. We will close down the week tomorrow in under 23 hours from right now. It's a Friday Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. Enjoy opening day, opening round of the Masters. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Be on the lookout for our condensed short form content. We'll have James Ogden's interview, which was probably 20 minutes or so, in our best of tab coming up at 4 o'clock today. Every single weekday, we have the best of clips, 15 to 20 minute clips that drop in the best of playlist. So go check that out if you haven't already done so. Of course I will, Kevin. Of course I will.
Look at Kevin. You can just tell he's wise. Look at that picture. Look at that. He's just wise. He's lived life. He knows what's up. He's speaking wisdom to us. Bobby, he says, is going to change that tune when his future son or daughter becomes a teenager.
I could agree. Kevin looks like a guy that I'd be hanging out in the cigar shop with. Absolutely. OG, appreciate you, Kevin. And
sanity.
Of course, you had to bring that one up. There were plenty of people that agree with me, by the way. We didn't have to bring
nobody
them up.
Did. I saw nobody agreeing. Nobody at all.
Well, on that note, thank you all. Thanks to Man to Sleep for the support. 90 minutes of content today for you. So hope you appreciated it. And just so everyone knows, the Eric DeGosta the Eric DaCosta evaluation that we tweeted and teased at the top of the show will be pushed to tomorrow. So we'll take a look at his drafting since he took over for Ozzie in 2019. And that and more is what we have coming up tomorrow. So for Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off from this Thursday show. As always, thanks for spending some time with us here inside the Vault. Vaultrons, we will talk to you on Friday. Later.